Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Rookie linebacker Demarco Jackson. Saints placed him on IR. We learned that yesterday as we were kind of wrapping up the show. An unfortunate injury to the fifth-round pick out of Appalachian State. So he basically takes a redshirt season. His rookie season effectively is over, being placed on IR. And that stinks. We've talked about linebacker a lot. If you weren't here an hour ago to start hour two, we had Matty Hudak with us. We talked about the Saints linebacker position. Pete Werner was not at practice today. He's got a groin issue. I don't want to place that label on Pete Werner, but this is 2 years in a row now where he's battled through injuries. Hopefully he's healthy, ready to roll, to get out there on the field and to be productive for this team. But they're going to need Werner and Demario Davis to stay healthy. I will tell you, August the 16th, so today's the 10th, so in 6 days is the first cut down day for NFL teams. They cut from 90 to 85. So 32 teams will all cut 5 players. So you'll have 150 players thereabout in available, and the Saints they need to go dust off their old draft evaluations and start looking at that cut down wire on August the 16th. Because my hope is somewhere along the way, if it's the August 16th cut from 90 to 85, the August 23rd cut from 85 to 80, or if you're going to wait until August 30th, sort of the end of this month and the end of camp, when you got to get down to 53, the Saints are going to have to add a linebacker somewhere along the way. You just cannot look at what you have right now and feel confident, where you love Demario Davis and you're excited about the future and the potential of Pete Werner, but after that, one of the most telling things that Maddie told us in a report earlier today, said Zach Bond is basically invisible, is the way she phrased it. She's like, I really don't even notice if he's there or not there. That is a bold statement for a guy as highly drafted as Zach Bond was, a guy who many had a first-round grade on until he got popped for a dilute sample at the Combine and ended up dropping into round 3 where the Saints took him. So he's got to find a way somewhere along the way. But after that, it's Andrew Dowell, it's Caden Ellis, it's Chase Hansen. It's guys that are depth pieces, not guys that you're going to count on to give you anything of significance. So, can you find that on the, after cut day? Maybe. But they're going to have to do something to add depth there. It's so interesting because the linebacker position for the Saints today, to me, feels a lot like cornerback did a year ago. Now, that resolved itself. But if you remember, and this is so wild because today the Saints is sort of the end of an era in New Orleans, because Ken Crawley has signed with the 49ers. Schefter reported this. Others have it that Ken Crowley, former Saints cornerback, has signed a 1-year deal with the San Francisco 49ers. We'll see if he can make the team there. But Crowley has played in 55 career games with 25 starts. Was undrafted, signed with the Saints in 2016, was released in 2019, bounced around that year, Miami, Vegas, Arizona, landing back with the Saints in 2020 in the COVID year, and then playing there last year as well. I mean, Ken Crawley has been sort of an enigma because he's a guy that has not played great and has been the bane of many Saints fan existence for a while. But they just couldn't get rid of him. I mean, you kind of throw him in that same category as Toast Thomas and Jason David and Brandon Browner. I mean, that was Ken Crawley when he was asked to be a boundary corner. He was just constantly burned. He was just overmatched. He was a step slow, a little too small, but he kept finding a way as a guy who could give you depth, could play multiple positions, could play in the secondary. He played in 55 career games, which is stunning for a guy who the perception is he gets beaten all the time. But when you think about what the secondary looked like a year ago at this time, we were all thinking Marshawn Lattimore is going to be suspended. And remember, Jack Rabbit was a cap casualty. So you saw Jackrabbit walk out the door, and you thought Lattimore was going to be suspended. We were literally sitting here thinking the opening day cornerbacks for the Saints were going to be P-Rob and Ken Crawley. That's what it was like. And then P-Rob up and retired in camp. And so then it was going to be Ken Crawley and Paulson Adebo, the rookie out of Stanford, who didn't play the year before, opted out due to COVID. I mean, that's how dire this was. Well, we know how it ultimately resolved. Lattimore was never suspended. They go trade for Bradley Roby, who's a really, really good player. Paulson Adebo plays out of his mind and higher than anybody would have thought. You, of course, have C.J. Garner-Johnson in that nickel role. And then, as good as they all played last year, you go add Alontae Taylor this year. I'd argue that's the deepest spot on his defense, is there in the secondary at cornerback. So it's amazing how quickly all that turned because you hit on a couple of draft picks. You got lucky with the Lattimore stuff. You traded for Bradley Roby. And I'm hopeful the Saints could turn a similar trick this year at linebacker. You need Demario Davis to stay healthy. You need Pete Werner to take that next step. Maybe one of the guys blossoms like we talked about with Zach Bond. Maybe you do go find a diamond in the rough when the roster cuts start to happen. Maybe you go make a trade like you did a year ago to bring in Bradley Roby to give you some depth. However it shakes out. What we do know, though, is Ken Crawley's not going to be back with the Saints as he's now signed with the San Francisco 49ers. A really bizarre parallel, though, to what it was like a year ago at corner and what the Saints are dealing with this year at linebacker. Hopefully it works out as well this year as it did a year ago. By the way, after practice today, Dennis Allen did meet with the media. Michael Thomas had a sensational day, as Matty Hudak told us last hour. 3 touchdown receptions for Michael Thomas. Here was Dennis Allen on the next step.
You guys have been watching him. The snaps that he's gotten have been pretty good. It looks like real football when he's out there playing, and so that's been good. And so now it's more about kind of increasing the volume as we go along. And Mike's been really good about every step of the process, and we'll keep going through it.
One of the things, I don't know that we'll see Mike Thomas in the preseason game on Saturday. We know we're not going to see Jameis. Ryan Ramczyk had a veteran day today, so he took the day off. One thing we maybe haven't really talked about much or at all is, as far as preseason, where we focus so much just on the value of preseason for roster spots, 51, 52, 53, those guys trying to make the roster in those last few spots. But what about Dennis Allen? I mean, Dennis Allen, yes, he filled in for Sean Payton a year ago in that Miami game, but I'm sorry, against Tampa. It was the Sunday night game against Tampa. But Dennis Allen hadn't been a head coach since he was with the Raiders, and that wasn't a great look. I mean, this kind of is a good sort of test drive for him as well.
I think these preseason games are important. We all benefit in some form or fashion from every one of these games. And so yeah, for me as the head coach, going through that process with this staff, making sure that all the communication is exactly the way that we want it. Look, it goes even as far as to, making sure that the travel is done exactly the way we want it. And so everything gets evaluated. We make whatever tweaks we need to make and kind of go from there. So yeah, it's important.
Saints coach Dennis Allen after practice on Wednesday. Remember, Saints will have another practice on Thursday. Then they have a walkthrough and a travel day on Friday before they play in Houston on Saturday against the Texans, their first preseason game of this offseason. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.